Walt Disney won more Academy Awards than anyone in history. Year after year, the Oscars honored his cartoons, his documentaries, and his technical achievements. But the award Walt may have wanted most kept slipping through his fingers. Hi, I'm Dennis, and this is West of Neverland. If you like classic Disney animation history and behind-the-scenes stories, then this is the place for you. Today we're looking at every Oscar Walt Disney won during his lifetime and the one that got away. And along the way we'll see why the Academy admired Walt Disney's work so much while still struggling to treat animation as equal to live-action filmmaking. The first Academy Awards ceremony took place in 1929. At the time, animation didn't have its own category. Cartoons were grouped together with other short films, and they competed for the same awards. But animation was evolving quickly in the early 1930s, and much of the momentum was coming from one studio in particular, Walt Disney's. The success of Mickey Mouse and the increasingly ambitious Silly Symphonies had begun to change how audiences and the film industry viewed animation. So, at the 5th Academy Awards in 1932, the Academy introduced a brand new category, Best Short Subject, Cartoon. At that same 1932 ceremony, Walt Disney's studio contributed something else to the evening. Disney produced a short cartoon called Parade of the Award Nominees, created specifically for the Academy Awards banquet. The film featured Mickey Mouse leading a parade of caricatures of that year's nominated movie stars, playfully celebrating Hollywood's greatest names. The cartoon was only shown at the ceremony itself and was never released theatrically. The short also marked an important milestone for Disney animation. It was produced in Technicolor, making it the first color appearance of Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, and Clarabelle Cow. Pluto also appears briefly, but he's still colored gray. The cartoon even reused some material from an early Disney short. Animation of animals celebrating the arrival of Old King Cole was lifted from the 1931 Silly Symphony, Mother Goose Melodies, along with its musical theme, which was newly recorded for the film. It was a playful tribute to Hollywood, and it showed just how quickly Mickey Mouse had become part of the film industry's biggest night. But before the evening was over, Walt Disney himself would be honored by the Academy. Walt Disney's award wins didn't begin with a competitive award. That same night in 1932, the Academy presented Walt with a special honorary Oscar for the creation of Mickey Mouse. By that point, Mickey had only been around for 4 years, but he had already become an international sensation. The character appeared not only in theatrical shorts, but also in comic strips, in Mickey Mouse clubs, and in merchandise around the world. In many ways, Mickey had become one of Hollywood's truly global stars, and he wasn't even human. The Academy's award recognized the cultural impact of the character and the innovation behind Disney's early sound recordings. It was an extraordinary acknowledgement for a cartoon character. But before the evening was over, Walt Disney would receive something else entirely. The first competitive Oscar for Best Short Subject, Cartoon, went to the Silly Symphony, Flowers and Trees. At first glance, the film tells a simple story, a romance between two young trees in a forest, disrupted by a jealous rival and a dangerous wildfire. But what made the cartoon truly remarkable was something audiences had never seen before: color. Flowers and Trees had originally been animated in black and white, but during production, Walt learned about a new filmmaking process called 3-strip Technicolor, capable of producing a full spectrum of vibrant color on the screen. Walt had the animators wash the black and white paint off the existing animation cells and repaint them in color. When Flowers and Trees was released, the brilliant colors and lush forest scenes amazed the audiences. The film became the first widely released cartoon produced in 3-strip Technicolor, and won Walt the first competitive Academy Award for animation. And it was the beginning of a remarkable run, one that would see Disney cartoons dominate the category throughout the rest of the decade. Something interesting happens when you look at Disney's Oscar wins in the 1930s. Most of them came from the Silly Symphonies series, while Mickey Mouse was the studio's biggest star. The Silly Symphonies were Walt's experimental playground, his prestige series, a place where animators could test new techniques, explore music-driven storytelling, and push the art of animation forward, without recurring characters to anchor the stories. Each short would try something different. New animation styles, new technology, or new ways of telling the story through movement and music. And those kinds of innovations were exactly the sort of achievements the Academy tended to reward. The next year's Oscar went to another Silly Symphony, The Three Little Pigs. At first glance, it looks like a simple retelling of the classic fable.
Open the door and let me in!
Not for the hair on my chinny chin chin!
Three pigs build houses of straw, sticks, and brick, while the big bad wolf tries to blow them down. But what made the cartoon special was the personality of the characters. Instead of three identical pigs performing the same actions to try to get away from the big bad wolf, each had a distinct personality.
Who's afraid of the big bad wolf? Big bad wolf, big bad wolf.
Carefree, musical, or practical, that individuality came through not just through their dialogue, but in the way they moved and behaved on the screen.
You can play and laugh and fiddle. Don't think you can make me sore.
For Walt Disney, this was a major breakthrough in what he called personality animation. The cartoon became a cultural phenomenon. Released during the Great Depression, the song "Who's Afraid of the Big Bad Wolf"
Who's afraid of the big bad wolf?
struck a chord with the audiences and became something of an anthem of optimism during those difficult times. If you'd like to learn more about how this short changed the course of animation history, I actually did a full deep dive of it in another video. You can find the link in the description. The following year's Oscar went to another Silly Symphony, The Tortoise and the Hare. Based on Aesop's famous fable, the cartoon turns the race into a lively comic spectacle, with the overconfident hare constantly stopping to show off for the crowd.
You doggone tootin', cutie! I'm the very best there is!
A mistake that ultimately costs him the race. Like The Three Little Pigs, the short leaned heavily on character acting, showing how Disney animators were learning to build humor around personality rather than simple gags. The next Oscar went to 1935's The Three Orphan Kittens, another Silly Symphony about three curious kittens exploring a house. Their playful mischief eventually leads them into trouble.
What's going on here?
The following year's winner was The Country Cousin, another Silly Symphony based loosely on an Aesop fable. In it, a naive country mouse visits his sophisticated city cousin and quickly discovers that city life, complete with champagne and a very hungry house cat, can be far more dangerous than it looks. The next Oscar went to 1937's The Old Mill, one of the most technically ambitious shorts Disney had ever produced. This film tells a simple story. Animals take shelter inside an abandoned windmill during a violent thunderstorm. But the real star of the cartoon was a revolutionary piece of equipment, the multiplane camera. The new camera allowed animators to photograph multiple layers of artwork at different distances from the camera, creating a convincing illusion of depth and cinematic camera movement. It gave these shorts a sense of space that audiences had rarely seen in animation. And just as importantly, the techniques developed in The Old Mill would soon be used in Disney's first feature-length animated film, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. The innovations Disney developed for shorts like The Old Mill were leading towards something far more ambitious. In 1937, Walt Disney released Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, the first full-length animated feature film produced in the United States. At the time, many in Hollywood believed audiences would never sit through a feature-length cartoon. Some even referred to the project as Disney's folly. Instead, the film became an enormous success, winning both critical praise and record-breaking box office. When the Academy Awards were held the following year, Disney received one of the most famous honorary Oscars in history. Child star Shirley Temple presented Walt with one full-size Oscar and 7 miniature ones, representing Snow White and her 7 dwarfs.
Dwarfs' names fit their personalities. This pompous-looking individual is Doc, the self-appointed leader of the group. And this little fellow is bashful. He's secretly in love with Snow White. And this funny face is Sneezy. He has hay fever. And old Droopy Eyes is called Sleepy. And Happy here with the beaming smile. And old Sourpuss here is Grumpy, the woman hater. And last but not least is Dopey. He's nice, but sort of silly.
The Academy honored the film as a significant screen innovation which has charmed millions. It was a remarkable tribute, but it also revealed something about how animation was still viewed in Hollywood. Rather than competing alongside live-action films, Snow White was honored with a special award of its own. The next Oscar went to 1938's Ferdinand the Bull, a standalone Disney short based on the popular children's book by Munro Leaf. Unlike most bulls, Ferdinand would rather sit peacefully beneath a cork tree and smell the flowers rather than fight in the bull ring, until a little misunderstanding.
Bravo! Excelente! Magnificos!
Lands him in the middle of a Spanish bullfight.
Give it to me!
Although it wasn't officially part of the Silly Symphony series, this film carries the same storybook style and expressive animation that had defined Disney's prestige shorts throughout the decade.
And because she was an understanding mother, even though she was a cow.
The final Silly Symphony to win an Oscar was 1939's The Ugly Duckling. Based on the Hans Christian Andersen story, the short follows a lonely young bird rejected for being different, until he finally discovers where he truly belongs. Actually, Disney had already adapted the story once before in 1931 as a black and white cartoon. This new version showed just how far the studio's storytelling and character animation had evolved over the decade. It also marked the end of the Silly Symphony series, closing the chapter on studio's experimental prestige shorts. Now, if you're enjoying this deep dive into Disney history, I'd love it if you'd hit the like button and subscribe. I've got many more stories like this coming your way, so don't miss out. And before we move on to the next chapter in Walt Disney's Oscar story, I want to take a moment to thank the sponsor of today's video, ZocDoc. Finding a new doctor can feel overwhelming, especially when you're trying to make sure they're in-network, nearby, and actually available. That's where ZocDoc comes in. ZocDoc is a free app and website that helps you find and book high-quality, in-network doctors all in one place. We're talking about access to more than 150,000 providers across all 50 states. Whether you're looking for dermatology, dentistry, primary care, eye care, or one of the 200+ specialties available, you can search by specialty or even by symptom to build the care team that's right for you. You can read thousands of verified patient reviews, see doctors' real-time availability, and book instantly. No phone tag, no waiting around. Appointments made through ZocDoc typically happen within 24 to 72 hours of booking, and you can even score same-day appointments. So stop putting off all those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/Neverland to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/Neverland. This message is sponsored by ZocDoc. And now, back to the Oscars. By the early 1940s, Walt Disney's long run of Oscar wins for animated shorts had finally come to an end. After dominating the category throughout the 1930s, the Academy Award for Best Cartoon Short went to another studio in 1940, when MGM's The Milky Way took home the prize.
large and the Dipper small and the Milky Way.
It was the first time a Disney cartoon had been beaten in the category,
Milk!
and it marked the beginning of a new era as studios like MGM and Warner Brothers began producing animated films that could rival Disney's work. But the Academy wasn't finished honoring Walt Disney just yet. In 1940, Disney released one of the most ambitious films the studio had ever attempted, Fantasia. The film paired animated sequences with famous works of classical music. Including pieces by Bach, Beethoven, Stravinsky, and Tchaikovsky, all conducted by Leopold Stokowski and performed by the Philadelphia Orchestra. To bring the music to life in theaters, Disney engineers developed an experimental sound system called Fantasound, one of the earliest attempts at surround sound in motion pictures. At the 14th Academy Awards in 1942, the Academy presented Walt Disney and his collaborators with a special honorary Oscar, recognizing the film's groundbreaking innovation in both animation and sound. Once again, Disney was being honored not just for storytelling, but for expanding the possibilities of filmmaking itself. That same evening, the Academy also presented Walt with one of its highest honors, the Irving G. Thalberg Memorial Award. Named for legendary MGM producer Irving Thalberg, the award recognizes producers whose body of work reflects consistently high quality in motion picture production. It was given to Walt Disney in recognition of the extraordinary range of films his studio had produced, from groundbreaking animated features to documentaries and innovative short films. That same evening brought another competitive Oscar, this time for a Mickey Mouse cartoon. In Lend a Paw, Pluto befriends an abandoned kitten, only for jealousy to get the better of him. The short won the Academy Award for Best Short Subject Cartoon, becoming the only Mickey Mouse film ever to win an Oscar. The next competitive Oscar for Walt Disney came during World War II. The winner was De Führer's Face. In the short, Donald dreams he's living in Nazi Germany, forced to work in a surreal factory producing artillery shells while saluting Hitler. After enduring the nightmare of life under the Axis powers, Donald wakes up in his American home.
Oh, boy! Am I glad to be a citizen of the United States of America?
Relieved to discover it was only a dream. Like many Hollywood films of the time, the cartoon was part of the wartime propaganda effort that Disney and many other studios were involved in, but it also earned Disney another Academy Award for Best Short Subject Cartoon. Walt's next Oscar came from an entirely new kind of film, and the first non-animated Oscar win for Disney. In 1948, Disney released Seal Island, a short documentary about the lives of fur seals in Alaska. The film launched Disney's True Life Adventure series, bringing wildlife photography to mainstream movie audiences. It won the Academy Award for Best Short Subject, Two Reel. Disney's nature films were also becoming a regular presence at the Academy Awards. Throughout the early 1950s, several entries in the True Life Adventure series took home Oscars, including Beaver Valley,
This little homesteader is the valley's #1 citizen.
Nature's Half Acre,
Nature's Half Acre is a familiar place, a little plot of ground that might be found most anywhere.
and Waterbirds.
In ancient times, water birds were a source of great mystery to man, for they would appear out of nowhere.
A few years later, Men Against the Arctic would also win an Academy Award for documentary short subject. By the early 1950s, Disney's True Life Adventures and animated shorts were both being recognized by the Academy. The 1954 Academy Awards ceremony was a big night for Disney. He won a remarkable 4 Academy Awards in a single evening. The wins included Best Documentary Feature for The Living Desert,
Nature finds life.
and Best Documentary Short Subject for The Alaskan Eskimo.
But for Koganek, there's still one final chore. From a nearby freshwater pond, he hurriedly gathers large blocks of ice to supply his family with drinking water.
Both part of the True Life Adventure series. He also won Best Short Subject, Too Real, for Bear Country, another wildlife film.
Their mother's first teaching was always to climb a tree in time of danger.
And finally, the Oscar for Best Short Subject, Cartoon, went to the animated musical short Toot Whistle, Plunk and Boom. The first Disney short in CinemaScope, which explained how musical instruments produce sound.
Okay, boys, you're on.
Winning 4 Oscars in one evening remains a record for the most Academy Awards won by a single person at one ceremony. Disney returned to the winners list the following year with another True Life Adventures film. Released in 1954, The Vanishing Prairie explored the wildlife of the American Great Plains.
These little rodents have a dog-like habit of barking. Thus the name Prairie Dog.
The film won the Academy Award for Best Documentary Feature. A few years later, Disney earned another Oscar for the True Life Adventure series. Released in 1958, White Wilderness explored the wildlife of the Arctic, including lemmings, polar bears, and other animals living in the far north. The film won the Academy Award for Best Documentary Feature. Around the same time, Disney also won an Academy Award for the documentary short Grand Canyon, part of the studio's People and Places series. The film contains sweeping photography of the canyon with a dramatic musical score by composer Ferd Grofe. And the final Oscar connected to Walt Disney's work came a few years after his death. Released in 1968, Winnie the Pooh and the Blustery Day continued the studio's series of animated shorts based on A.A. Milne's beloved characters.
I'm unraveling.
That film won the Academy Award for Best Short Subject.
Till the river crept out of its bed and crept right into piglets.
Cartoon at the 1969 ceremony. Although Walt Disney had passed away in 1966, the award recognized the kind of character-driven storytelling and animation that he had helped build at the studio. By the end of his lifetime, Walt Disney had received 22 competitive Academy Awards and 4 honorary ones, for a grand total of 26 Oscars, or 33 statues if you count the 7 miniature awards presented for Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. This is more than any other individual in Oscar history, a record that still stands to this day. But Walt's relationship with the Academy also tells a bigger story. Again and again, the Oscars recognized Disney's work for its innovation, color, sound, animation, and new kinds of storytelling. And yet, during Walt's lifetime, animation itself was rarely treated as equal to live-action filmmaking. The kind of recognition that Snow White might have deserved in 1937, a nomination for Best Picture, wouldn't come for an animated film until 1991, when Beauty and the Beast finally broke that barrier by being nominated for Best Picture in the 1992 awards ceremony. Still, Walt Disney's influence on the Academy Awards is impossible to ignore. More than anyone else, he helped prove that animation could be more than just short cartoons before the feature presentation. It could be the main attraction itself. So I'm curious, which of Walt Disney's Oscar-winning films is your favorite? Let me know in the comments. And if you like this video, I'm sure that you'll like this one, and I think YouTube thinks you'll like it too. Go ahead and check it out, and I'll see you real soon.